I hit last night too.
A little bit, but it was late. It was, while we were all sleeping. So,
Okay, text me when you leave the house and text me.
how's your littlest, Matt?
Is that Bill, Michelle?
Oh,
Doing well.
Carolyn's going to dog sit, so I gave her, and she's going by herself, so I'm giving her strict instructions.
Yeah.
Linda's?
No,
Oh, okay.
another neighbor. I lost you guys. There you are. There you are. Another neighbor, just here on Maywood, but she's watching the dog for 2 weeks. So,
Oh,
yep,
that's a commitment.
it is a commitment. It is a commitment.
So can
Councilman, I
you
assume that
all
was,
hear me?
we can hear
Yeah,
you,
you're
Paul.
newborn.
It's nowhere near the drive that it sounds like you're on, but we did a Father's Day drive out to Coldwater. They have a steam railroad out there that my
Oh,
brother
very cool, very
arranged,
cool.
and I'll say a 2.5-hour drive with 3, including newborn, and 1 under 3 was a little bit of an adventure at times.
Yeah.
One of those, present me thought it was a good idea, and then when it got to the future me said, why did we do this?
Yeah.
Nah, it all worked out. It was all good.
I love newborns. I'd raise newborns forever. Be careful when they turn 2. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, well, we're at 2.5 with the one, and
Yeah.
he's the troubled one that, it's, if it's not, I want to go to the bathroom, or I just want to get out of my seat, or I'm just unhappy,
Yeah.
it's, that deal.
You'll wish for these days when they're 14.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see.
Can't find my Zoom.
We hear you.
You had your video on earlier, Paula.
I'm having a day. Couldn't remember
look
my
like it.
password. Where do they keep my Zoom?
I'm going to turn on the record. And then some people are having difficulty finding some of the links, so I'm going to work on that when you guys are in closed session. But
Sure,
this meeting will stay open, of course.
one of the invites came out on June 10th and then should be on the calendar as well.
It is. Somebody else found it on the calendar, but somebody else was having trouble, so I may have to help a few people. But
Okay.
but this meeting will stay open. I'll be here while you guys are in closed session.
Okay.
Yeah, I got it.
That always frightens me when it does that now.
Sure. I was looking for the closed session invite too.
That's from Ed.
Right. I don't see it.
Should be on your calendar, perhaps, Mayor.
Yeah, it probably should be. Yes.
Can Chief McCormick, can he, oh, he's on the closed session. Okay, got it. All right.
There you go. I'm telling you.
We see you now, Paula.
Even a blind dog finds a bone now and then.
Oh, is that John? We're waiting for John, right? I wonder if this
Yeah,
is.
correct. I think he's
So this is probably him. We're gonna find out.
Yeah, it appears to be.
I'm here.
Okay. Clerk, when you're ready, we can,
I'm ready.
well, I should ask first, so you want to start with the special meeting, is that correct?
Correct.
We'll come back, right? Okay.
Yep.
So we're all here. So at this time, call the city council special meeting to order. Clerk, please call the roll.
And just just a reminder to indicate where you're located right now. Councilperson Felder,
Present, Iowa City, Iowa.
Whitman,
Yeah, here, and I'm in Monroe, Michigan.
Iko Angeli,
I'm present, Monroe, Michigan.
Vining,
Here, Monroe, Michigan.
Jermaine,
Here, Monroe, Michigan.
Lamore,
Present, City of Monroe.
Mayor Clark,
Present in the city of Monroe.
and Clerk Lavoy is present in the city of Monroe.
Okay, we have one item for the special meeting, so a motion from council will be in order.
Your Honor.
Councilman Felder,
Yes, sir. I'd make a motion that we move into closed session for the purposes of attorney-client privilege correspondence.
second.
Second,
Motion by Councilman Felder, supported by Councilman Moore to go into closed executive session for attorney-client privilege correspondence. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Felder,
Yes.
Whitman,
yes.
Iko Angeli,
Yes.
Vining,
Yes.
Jermaine,
Yes.
Lamore,
Yes.
Mayor Clark.
Yes, we'll see everybody over there.
This is stare off or what?
No, I'm gonna put a screen up in a minute.
Well, I thought I was supposed to be in the closed session, but I didn't get the link, so
Oh, that's from Ed, and I don't have it.
I just texted him. So
Okay.
it's told me to be here. So
And then they forget you. So
if I'm not wanted, I'll go eat my dinner now.
I can't find my link either, but I'm looking.
Well, at least misery loves
Look-
company, right?
All right.
You're not alone.
If you accepted it, it should be on your calendar, Paula.
Okay, let
And
me
if you
see.
didn't, look for an email from Ed Sell.
Well, I'm going to disappear, so I'll see you when anybody needs me.
Okay, that's fine. And this will be open, so.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, I'm wrong. They're still in closed session. Woo! Didn't miss it. Yay.
Okay, we have almost everybody back. It'll take a second here. There we go. So, back to the
Your Honor, I'll make a motion. We go back in the regular session.
second. Motion by Councilman Klein, supported by Councilman Lamore, back in special meeting session. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Felder,
Yes.
Whitman,
Yes.
Equangeli,
Yes.
Vining,
Yes.
Jermaine,
yes,
Lamore,
Yes.
Clark.
Yes. Need a motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn.
second,
Motion by Councilman Lamore, supported by Councilwoman Jermaine to adjourn the special meeting. Clerk, please call the roll.
Felder,
Yes.
Whitman,
Yes.
Equangeli,
Yes.
Vining,
Yes.
Jermaine,
yes.
Lamore,
Yes.
Mayor Clark.
Yes, thank you all. So we'll just move right forward. When clerk, if you're when you're ready, or if you are ready.
Moving, just 1 second.
Sure.
I'll get the right agenda here. All right, I'm ready.
Okay, so next I'll call the city council work session meeting to order. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Felder,
Present in Iowa City, Iowa.
Whitman,
Present in Monroe, Michigan.
Angeli,
Present, Monroe, Michigan.
Vining,
Here, Monroe, Michigan.
Germaine,
Here, City of Monroe.
Lamore,
Present, City of Monroe.
Mayor Clark,
And present in the city of Monroe.
and Clerk Lavoy is present in the city of Monroe.
Okay, very well. Work session, Vince, I know you have a few items here. We'll move through, and I think there's something additional we want to talk about as well.
Yes. Thank you, Your Honor. We do have a handful of items to discuss. I would like to leave some time at the end related to the mayor's declaration of emergency, the COVID-19 emergency, and implementation of or termination of a number of resolutions that we have. So if we can get to that at the end, that would be great. First item is just the Board of Review Charter Amendment. City Attorney Matt Buds had received comment from the Attorney General's office, and I'll just let Mr. Buds kind of provide that overview for council.
Your Honor and Council, as the city manager indicated, I had been engaged in discussion with the Attorney General's office about contemplated charter amendments. The response that I got back was I won't call it a recommendation, but a suggestion that perhaps what was the intent of what we were trying to accomplish with changing the terms of the members of the Board of Review could be accomplished rather by ordinance rather than by charter amendment, which in fact the state law provides that the size, composition, and manner of appointment of a Board of Review of a city may be prescribed by the charter. And then it goes on to say, in the absence of or in place of a charter provision, the governing body of the city may, by ordinance, establish the city board of review in the same manner and for the same purposes as provided in state law for townships. So basically, the Attorney General's office recommended at least that we consider whether we could not accomplish our intended purposes by ordinance and putting the city board of review essentially into what is generally prescribed for townships or cities under state law in the absence of a charter provision. That would essentially mean that you would have a board of review, as the council may determine by ordinance, as having 3, 6, or 9 members, and that you could also have 2 alternate members, and that the terms would be 2 years. As you'll recall, city administration was originally recommending that we look at 3-year terms, which would require that charter amendment as the process. If we were comfortable going to 2-year terms with at least what I would recommend, and I believe Assessor Paula Smith, who's with us, would also believe would be appropriate, is to have a 3-member board of review with 2 alternate members that would have the same term being 2 years, that would be an appropriate way to get us to the, I'll say, longevity, at least, of having continuity of some of those members rather than the 1-year terms that we have currently under the charter and our current approach. So that's information, I guess, for consideration. And speaking both with the city manager and the city assessor, it seems that perhaps we would be comfortable, they would be comfortable, and I would agree that it might be appropriate to pursue that ordinance route rather than a charter amendment. And if the council is of a similar mindset, then we could prepare that as an ordinance amendment and provide it along with some background information for council's further consideration in advance of the appointment of the board of review for next year.
Thanks, Matt. Councilman Michelangelo.
Thanks, Mayor. Matt, would it make, if I like the ordinance route, it seems to be simpler, but would we put on the charter or on the ballot a charter amendment to delete the board of review provisions from the charter just to clean it up?
My recommendation would probably be, if we go about that, into 2 stages. One would be put the ordinance amendment in place first and then follow it later by a cleanup that says, okay, because of this ordinance, that makes this sort of superfluous at that point. The interesting thing about that is, of course, if that vote were not to pass, it still doesn't change the fact that according to state law, the ordinance can trump the charter on that particular issue. So I'll leave that for a question of desire for charter cleanup after the fact. But the main issue is, are we all comfortable proceeding forward with the ordinance, which then would implicate the state law at this point?
Thanks. Definitely seems simpler and maybe direct for communication of the public as well and the reasons. Vince, you had
Yeah, and I think by taking that route where we go via ordinance and at a later point in time, as Mr. Buds alluded to, that it's consistent with the other charter amendments that have been presented, where there's been either statutory case law changes that no longer make it pertinent. And I think by exercising that sequence, it probably makes more sense.
Okay, Andrew.
Thank you, sir. In the event that the charter amendment removing the Board of Review from the charter, the Board of Review governance rules from the charter fails, are we locked into having that be from the charter? Or are we still able to do the ordinance anyway? Let's say that the public says, no, we want direct control over this. We don't want an ordinance.
So I'm going to say that the state law provides that you can do this by ordinance. My recommendation in terms of timing, if that's the council's will, is to do it by ordinance and basically say, okay, we are following state law and have our ability to do so by ordinance, essentially superseding the provisions of the charter, and then later going back with a charter cleanup. In my opinion, under that approach, the ordinance would stand. The council has the authority to do that. And it's much like if we have, I'm trying to think of other ones that we have, had as cleanup, right? I mean, there hadn't been a dog warden appointed for many, many years. And so at some point we cleaned that out of the charter as sort of housekeeping.
Sure.
I think if you
Well,
go
we've had
the
other
other
housekeeping
route,
amendments that have failed too.
Correct. But in that same regard, if you, on some of those that we have said are procedural primarily, right? I mean, the question of, I'll just use it as an example for myself, right? There had been proposed a possibility of eliminating the 2-year term of the city attorney and just saying, as a matter of course, council has the determination to appoint or terminate at will, right? That's the practical reality. No matter that the charter says that there's a 2-year term, you all have the ability to make that decision as to your will as to who the city attorney is at any particular point. I think this would be a similar situation if the ordinance, which is proper under state law, says here's how the Board of Review is going to be appointed. If you have a contrary charter provision, you have a contrary charter provision. If the voters are not inclined to clean that up, it stays there, but the ordinance remains in effect. That's my opinion.
Yeah, any other comments? So I think there's some direction here for Vince, Matt, and I guess something to look forward to come back to council through the alternative through an ordinance change.
Now, there was, if I may, just some discussion about revisiting the amendments that were not approved last. The one was the eligibility for elective office, and the other was the term of appointed office that Mr. Buds referred to. And so I'll be honest with you, we've talked about, the election commission maybe being comprised of the clerk, treasurer, city attorney, and mayor, which is very common in most places. And then we've talked about some other language changes related to the capital improvements program process. I think given the manner right now with elections and what have you, I think we're just of the opinion that let's just leave it alone for right now. Maybe the waters will calm down and come back and continue it when things are a little more not as topsy-turvy as they are politically throughout the nation.
Vince? I don't see any comments. I think your next item.
Okay. Next item is
I'm sorry, John, do you have your hand? Okay. Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Vince, please.
Yeah, next item is update regarding Parks and Recreation. Contained in the packet was the memo from Loretta Lapointe following a meeting that her and I had last week, where we are with opening the parks and the programs here starting this month. And I'll just list them: adult sand volleyball. It'll play with an amended start date The adult summer and fall soccer, again, playing with an amended start date. Usually the staff has been involved with registrations by now. Adult softball will be played as normally it is in the fall. Talking about doing 2 concerts to be held in late August, and then the court and dance lines late summer to be held as normal. And that would be likely at the completion of the programs that the Y is putting on there. So, Loretta, do you want to address any of those before council?
I don't see. I know she's in the attendee.
He is. Let me move her over, okay?
Okay.
That'd be great.
All right.
Loretta, any follow-up comments or thoughts? I know you're on mute. Oh, there you go.
No, I think Vince summarized it really well.
Okay. While you're still here, see if there's any final thoughts or inquiries from council on the memo, or and then moving forward with some of the opportunities to get some activities within the city as stated. All right. I don't see any. Thanks, Loretta.
Thank you.
Vince?
Next item is just a PowerPoint presentation. We check and make sure if we have Jeff or Caitlin as
Who's gonna, I'm not sure who's gonna be running that. I'll be glad to assign.
okay.
I have it, you are co-host right now, Vince. I just wasn't sure if it was Jeff or Caitlin.
So let's, just as a background, where tonight's agenda, we've got a request to schedule a public hearing for the Tuesday, July 6th meeting for the 2021-26 CDBG Consolidated Plan and Annual Action Plan. And I think we'll talk a little bit about the Annual Action Plan tonight. And then I also let you note that we received over 2.1 million in Section 108 loans. We're still looking at how we can structure some alternatives and possibly look at coming back with council for some use and feedback and input regarding that. So that being the case, again, if we're ready to do the presentation.
Vince and Mr. Mayor, members of council, Jeffrey Green, Director of Community Development. I think Caitlin was going to do the presentation and she is trying to get in on audio, and I don't know, I think she was cut off on her Zoom connection, as so would happen right before you're going to do a presentation.
Sure. And I see it's saying connecting to audio, so it might be just kind of spinning to get in, but
She'd still be able to show her screen, I would think. And I made you and Caitlin co-hosts.
Okay.
I could be wrong. I'm not a Zoom expert, but it would seem to me that if she shared her screen, it might work. Oh, is she on by phone? Then that might be a problem.
It looks like she might be on by phone.
yeah, yep.
And unfortunately, I don't think I have the presentation.
I may have it, Jeff. I think Caitlin emailed it out to all of us, so I can
Okay.
guarantee it's the right one, but it's the last one I had.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we'll start there and progress.
All right.
Ed is now a co-host.
Caitlin may be with us right now too. I see yep.
Yep, she's still here. And she can, Ed, are you able to pull it up? Are you just, there we go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, Caitlin, are you with us?
I am.
There we go.
Right.
All right. So I should be able to see my screen now, or I can drop out and let Caitlin. What do you prefer?
No, I can see it. I apologize, everyone.
We can hear you, so maybe we'll, Caitlin, if you want to start and work with Mr. Sell. There we go, starting to move forward.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much. This is about our community development block grant. This year we were awarded $461,536, and then we'll have roughly $149,655 carried over from the previous year. And this is the projects that we were looking to fund with our allocation for this year, which is that $461,000. We're going to reinstate the down payment assistance program. We did put that on hold last year because of COVID. Emergency food distribution, which is our mobile food pantry. The fixed program administration costs at MCOP to run the day-to-day operations. Foreclosure and homeless prevention. This is a counseling service that's provided for those income qualified residents who are facing foreclosure or eviction. And if they cannot prevent foreclosure or eviction, then they help find affordable housing. Public facility improvements, which includes the ALCC and the VAR library and some of the continued work going on there. Fair housing study is a HUD requirement, and this tests the fair housing market within the city limits. So they will send testers out to various locations where homes are for rent and see if there's any discrimination once they get there. Site removal and code enforcement. As we know, we've put a lot into this and getting some of those vacant buildings demolished. And then planning and administration of the program.
If I could just add a little bit with that, there was two things with it. I think the fixed program amount is we put more money into it than we had in the past. It was what, previously $75,000 per year?
Yes, and they can go up to $24,999. So by upping the budget to $100,000, that gives us the ability to do 4 projects throughout the year if they all use the maximum amount, and hopefully, we can do more and they don't all use that maximum amount.
One of the other things I want to talk about too is the public facility improvements. In the past, we were very specific as to which building or what have you. Now we've went generic, and this gives us more flexibility regarding any amendments that we may need to pull money in for different public facility projects.
Yeah. And this is our carryover amount from projects from 2020-21 program year. Elm House, which is a group home within the city, they were looking for money to remodel their bathrooms to make them accessible. They did not complete the project due to COVID last year. We did put money into the fair housing study last year. That would be continued this year. The lead-based paint remediation, we have money left over in blight removal and code enforcement that we will carry forward, and there will be money carried forward for the fixed program. And then we did have $20,000 in unallocated funds that we have worked back in. And then this is the overall combined budget with previous allocations and this upcoming program year. So we have down payment assistance at $10,000, emergency food distribution at $7,500, fixed program would be $155,155. Fixed program administration to MCOP is $10,000. Foreclosure and eviction, foreclosure and homelessness prevention, $7,500. Our fair housing study, $30,000. Blight removal and code enforcement, $125,000. Public facilities improvement, $203,536. Elm House, $10,000. Lead-based paint remediation, $2,500, and then our planning and administrative costs at $50,000. And this is how, as I think I've mentioned before, how we will present it to in our HUD. So we'll lump in housing rehabilitation, and that will consist of the fixed program, lead-based paint remediation, and the administrative costs. And as you said, the public facility improvements, this just makes them into broader categories, so we do have that flexibility to move money a little bit more freely without doing amendments. So with that, if there are any questions, I would be happy to answer.
Thanks, Caitlin. I'll see if any council members have any questions or need any clarification on the information on the PowerPoint. John?
Yeah, Your Honor, I think every time we go through the annual plan, I always have questions about the cost benefit of the fixed program because it's rather expensive, and I don't know if we get the bang for the buck that we should be getting. Is there any thought of taking some of the fixed money and putting more money into blight removal and code enforcement? We're just not getting it. From my perspective, we're just not getting ahead of it. And this is a policy budget, and blight enforcement and code enforcement are technically housing rehabilitation type of services. I'd like to hear the administration's position on this.
Thanks. Vince, I know we've had some discussions from council with this. I think back to our, we had some carryover obviously through the fix, and maybe it was just that we didn't have applications or the use for that. So that, and I guess in relation to Councilman's comment on blight or I guess mitigation of.
We haven't, to be honest with you, with the fix program, it's been a program out there and established for a period of time, and does it make a dent? I don't know. It does on an individual basis, but does it change? Is the money higher and better use for blight removal? Ed, Caitlin, and Jeff can tell you that I was wanting to put as much previously as we could into code and demolitions. With the funds, although I'm looking to put more into public facilities, and candidly, it's a question for council, which is in part why we treated this as a work session discussion before, just handing it off and saying, here it is. So
Vince, for tonight, for the work session here, and then tonight we're setting the public hearing.
Yeah.
July 6th. I guess one item maybe would help me as well to the councilman's question is, do we have some leftover, I'll say blighted properties or demo properties that we've talked about over the years that, while some are getting some work done no matter what the time frame is, but others just are there and are not going to be. I know we have some of those, and if they're not on the list, how do we get there?
Yeah, we haven't updated. I know that Mr. Green with the department has maintained a list of what we would consider dangerous structures. And so we could look at updating that list that we know exists out there. But the other thing with it is, do you add on another inspector just to focus on that? And obviously some of the blight abatement could be, from a legal standpoint, Mr. Buds and I, and his associate, Catherine and Jean associates, I've been working in that area that maybe we put more and more resources in that capacity if that, if council would like.
Well, I think that gets into where we talk about the, we're looking for compliance, and we not having that at times. We have enforcement, and that doesn't get us there either. So is some of that going to help facilitate that? Maybe there's space. I think there is space for the fixed program for me, but it's a matter of how much and then how we provide that, and when those applications may or may not have come in. Mr. Green, you have your hand up, and if you could go ahead, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, to that issue, I think to Councilman Icoangeli, this is one of the programs that I believe is required by HUD, that we have a home improvement, home rehabilitation program. And as Vince indicated, this is really a decision by City Council how much you want to allocate toward that. We've kind of identified over the years that with this $24,999 was kind of a maximum per month. But the reality is, if we get into a home that has a lot of problems, it may have lead-based paint, may have asbestos, a number of those types of things, we essentially cannot leave that home until we rectify all those issues. So we could conceivably end up spending substantially more money. And as Caitlin indicated, we're looking, we try to work with MCOP, who administers the program, looking for projects that fall under this amount, although that's oftentimes we get close to it. But again, someone comes along in the wintertime and has a furnace that is out, and has no way of paying for it. This is really what this program is there to help. Or there's a leaking roof and it needs to be repaired and there is no other avenue for them. And those people meet the budget and financial criteria to be in the program, then this is really where this program comes into play. But again, can it be reduced? Yeah, it probably can be. And again, that would be a decision that all of us together would make. And primarily that's on city council.
So, the fixed program, we have it, and I think at times we want to make sure it doesn't get to where it's dilapidated, where it then requires the demolition. There are some of that preventive opportunities for the right locations. Councilman Felder, your hand's raised.
Yes, sir. Thank you. You had 167 on a line item for housing rehabilitation. How is that different from the fixed program, and what does that program entail? What sort of projects?
Okay, so that is how we are going to submit to HUD. Instead of breaking it out as the fixed program, we're lumping lead-based paint remediation, the day-to-day administration of the fixed program and the fixed program into one category. And that would be housing rehabilitation. So it's comprised of all three of those.
That's just the category that goes to HUD, and then we have internally like what we're spending on the line items ourselves.
Right.
Okay, I understand.
And that gives us the flexibility that if a lead-based paint project goes over, we can pull money from that same pot, basically.
Okay, Mr. Green.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And for us, for administratively internally, having these larger areas that we have a number of things fall within these categories, it helps us so that we don't have to go through the process of amending the budget. The budget is set up and these things fall within these larger, broader categories.
Other comments? Again, moving from here, it'll be tonight just to set the public hearing or to set the public hearing. But I think we've given some information to Mr. Pastu that we're probably going to have some more conversation leading up to the meeting on July 6th, where we'll be up for council action. So some additional.
Actually, I don't think, Your Honor, if I may, I don't think we have to take action till, I believe, the July 19th meeting.
Okay, very well.
We just do a public hearing and then take comments and then get feedback before it's presented for final approval. And so there's ample opportunity for changes in the proposed budget.
All right, thanks for the clarification. And I think some information can come forward and we can have some more dialogue.
Yep.
All right.
I think we will.
Well, it's good. There's options. I think having the conversation might get us to where some look at this holistically as well. Mr. Pastu, we're at about 7:12 and we got more items.
Yes, we had had some discussion establishing a tree advisory committee. Just so we start putting the details together, obviously we got to put together a scope of responsibility. I just listed these in no specific order. Policy and procedure development, review of annual maintenance plan, part of the ongoing program. Each year DPS is involved with planning the removal of trees based on their species, conditions, along with their replacement. I put review of tree removals and replacements related to construction projects, review of requests to remove trees that are healthy, but property owners want them removed. Surprisingly, we get a lot of those. And then certainly promotion and awareness, obviously working in conjunction with Department of Public Services, Communications Director, Mayor's Office, such as Arbor Day events and programs. I put that out there. The one thing with the maintenance, Patrick and I were talking a little bit about this, and there's times where, we've got a lot of silver maples that need to go, and you find them in sequence. He said, well, gee, maybe we do, a scattering of them so that when we replant something, we come back a couple of years later, that new planting is starting its growth, and then we remove another so that you don't just clear cut, if you will, a terrace block that you do it maybe on a programmed basis that may still maintain some of the cover, if you will, for that street, but also allow for a planting of species that would be more appropriate. So that was in the context of what we were talking about. So put that out there. If we get some direction, we'll start continuing the process of forming putting together the ordinance for this committee.
John?
Thanks, Your Honor. One of the things I think is really would be one of their top priorities is to put together an urban forest master plan for the community. That's taking the information that we have off of our GIS system and actually putting it on paper, a master plan for replanting the city. Because there are areas and streets in the city that don't have any street trees. And those should all be identified, and we should have a master plan on how we're going to complete it.
You know, the one thing, if I may, Your Honor,
yes.
I was putting this together last week, just is all the conversation heretofore has been essentially dealing with trees in the terrace, but we do have other open space, obviously, throughout the city, and how that fits in with some of the projects. And so that would broaden it up as part of a master plan if we were to put something, together for that. So generally, we okay with this, though?
Yeah, I think it's the start. I think I see everybody's nodding their heads. I'll say I received a couple of compliments here in the last week. I think it was East Willow. There's some infill trees there and some other locations. So it is being recognized. But as Councilman Akalangi said, that long-term master plan and I think would be beneficial in this advisory committee to assist moving that forward. Other comments? Oh, go ahead, Vince.
Nope, I just hit if you're okay, we'll proceed with drafting an ordinance. So last item, it's not on the agenda, but certainly something we've discussed here in the last week or so. And today in particular, the mayor, Mr. Buds, Clerk Lavoie, and our communications director, Jody Egan, about the mayor's declaration state of emergency for the COVID-19 pandemic, but also as the state is opening up, governor reducing restrictions. So if I may just let the mayor and the city attorney take it from there.
Sure, I'll be brief. I know we're just for time, but also we'll be asking, well, moving forward, we've had conversations and watching what's transpired, not only in the state, CDC and others across the country, and, the favorable signs we're having, but yet I think we've been judicious and also cautious to make sure that we're not moving too far. But as far as the mayor's state emergency, I'm looking at lifting that. And I think there's still some internal items to just put in place, especially in a communications plan. We've spoken with the communications director as well, and the clerk and I, as been said, talked, and looking to make this effective on Friday, June 25th at 5 p.m. We've talked about our meetings and going back to in-person meetings here in the near future as well. But it gives us the time this week so we can put the communication plan out this week. Some final items within, I'll say administratively internal, but that is to have termination of the declaration of the state of emergency here in the city of Monroe, looking at Friday at close of business, which I'll say 5 p.m. just to be specific. I know Mr. Buds has prepared some information for us. It is not on our council agenda tonight. We do have some other related items, but we have resolutions that are out there, and we have taken action on, and we'll need to take action on those as well. If in fact this is something council wants to put on, and we have to put on because there's action the council will have to take as well. But I'll leave that to Mr. Buds to explain why that's a necessity as well, despite just the mayor, terminating the state of emergency. Mr. Buds?
Your Honor and Council, if it's possible that I can be made a host or share my screen, I'll do that. Let's see that coming up. Okay. Okay. So you should be able to see my screen now. See a
Yeah.
resolution up on your screen, hopefully.
Yes, it has appeared.
Okay, so what we basically have is, assuming that the mayor does make the decision to go ahead and terminate the state of emergency effective on June 22nd, no, I'm sorry, June 25th, I apologize. The thought process here would be to give a resolution that terminates, as city council will recall, there were 8 what we called COVID-19 resolutions and 3 reopening resolutions that came after that, basically walking our way through the different steps that were taken because of the state of emergency. This resolution, and because we may ask that council consider adding this to the agenda tonight, I'll walk through it in a little more detail than I would normally. Your first whereas clause gives the ordinance authority for the state of emergency. The second whereas clause states that the mayor did in fact declare a state of emergency back in March of 2020 on the date they're listed. And then an indication that on June 17th of this year, the state announced the rescission of most of the restrictions imposed by the state that will go into effect tonight at midnight, or tomorrow morning at midnight, more accurately stated. And then I gave some of the statistics that were included, in facts included in the state's decision to rescind, I'll say, most of the public gathering and mask wearing and related issues that went into the most recent DHHS order. This resolution indicates that the mayor anticipates the termination of the declaration of state of emergency on or before June 25th at 5 p.m., as the mayor just was indicating. And in the past, as I said, council had COVID resolutions 1 through 8 and reopening 1 through 3. And so therefore, we would say that it be resolved that upon the effective date and time of that termination by the mayor, should it come, that COVID-19 resolutions 1 through 8 and reopening resolutions 1 through 3 are rescinded and of no further force and effect. And a further, though, statement that the city council of the city of Monroe would encourage the continued monitoring of COVID-19 pandemic situation and recommends the continued adherence to federal, state, and local guidance concerning the response to COVID-19. So that is something that we put together today just as a proposal for council to potentially consider adopting this evening, that would then essentially rescind those resolutions that were put in place following the declaration of the state of emergency, as that situation, I'll say, progressed through its stage to where we are today. Happy to answer any questions about that. And I don't know if you want me to leave that on the screen or take that down. You can let me know.
Just leave it for a moment here, Matt, see if there's any questions from council or any thoughts, concerns. I will say I am very comfortable and confident to where things have progressed, that we as a community, as a city, move forward from the COVID and the state of emergency, and to terminate that. I think some of the things we saw today in the work session, things we've talked about in the last week or so, of opening up opportunities, whether it be parks, whether it be we see happening at some of our downtown businesses and restaurants. And I think it, as I said, I'm very comfortable and confident that to terminate the state of emergency. Any thoughts or questions from Mr. Buds, or just comments? Andrew.
Thank you, sir. The state seems to be doing pretty well. Locally, we're having a little bit more trouble. I think only a third of Monroe County residents, last time I saw the most recent numbers, had both doses of the vaccine. Are the numbers, are the positive numbers where we want them to be, where we feel comfortable taking this action at this time?
Well, I think about the vaccinations, and I know from the state standpoint, it's up over 60%. And moving forward, I think about cases and reports that come from our county health department. I've not seen, I'll say, releases of concern of increases. And while we may not be at the 60% from a countywide or here in the city, I think people still have the ability and option to continue to take any personal necessary steps they may have. John?
Yeah, Your Honor, I think I'm good with the resolution. I think, we're going to get to a point of a marginal rate of return. We can we can offer the vaccine and have the vaccine supply as plentiful as possible, but we're going to get to a point where there's a number of people that just don't want to get vaccinated. And because of that, it really shouldn't hold up what local government is doing. So, I'm comfortable like you are with the resolution that we start getting back to normal. We just can't withhold our regular form of business because there's a number of people that just have an objection to getting the vaccine.
Councilman Felder, I think your point's taken that, while the numbers are different from county to county and overall, but I've not seen this concern where we're getting medical reports or reports from the community health department that I've seen that are saying we are kind of a pocket of serious concern when all around us are showing the returns that we're watching, quite honestly, nightly or daily, that comes through the state and the governor's office. And that it doesn't mean we're not going to be vigilant of what's transpiring, because if there appears to be something, we've been through this past within the state, things were pulled back a little bit, but then all of a sudden we took off. So I think that's where we stay in contact with the county health department and awareness of what's occurring within our community and our city as well. But as things have I'll say transitioned around us and where we're at, I think it's time to move forward and terminate the state of emergency.
Thank you, sir.
All right. So if there's no other questions, it will require to be placed through an amendment on the agenda. I'm looking at Clerk Lavoie for as we move forward to make sure we communicate that. I guess as I many times do at the start of the meeting, I start to make comments. I'll make this comment at the beginning so council can hopefully follow through with what Mr. Buds is proposing here, because it's essential the council follows through with the actions, takes our action as a council in response to the actions we've taken collectively on this matter.
Your Honor.
Yes, Councilman.
Procedurally, Michelle, where would we want to put the resolution?
So we'll put it out there under amend agenda, and then it'll probably just go as one of the last items on the under council action.
Council
So
action.
whatever is added, we'll just put it in that, or I'll just put it in that order and call it off.
Okay. Cool.
So we have about 3 minutes for the start of meeting, and we will get to a structure with our work sessions and our closed sessions. I think that there's much that we need to speak about, and these are beneficial. And I think it gives the community opportunity to see as we move into items and we can address them. So if there's nothing further, we have just a couple minutes to kind of close down, take care of anything you need, and then we can come back for our regular meeting. All right, this time we'll close the work session. Roll call is not necessary, and see you in 2 or 3 minutes. Clerk, are you good?
I'm good, and the recording and YouTube will be left on, so.
Yep, so be mindful of that for your audio and your video in this pause.
Oh.
Sorry for the extra couple minutes. I had to get some things in order on the computer. So we have, we're still waiting for a couple of the council members to come back into video. Okay. Clerk Treasurer Lavoy, look for your statement already.
Yes.
Good.
Mhm.
Okay. So it looks like about 7:33. So at this time, call the city council meeting to order. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Felder,
Present in Iowa City, Iowa.
Flynn,
Present in Monroe, Michigan.
Eckelangeli,
Present, Monroe, Michigan.
Vining,
Here, Monroe, Michigan.
Skimmini,
Here, City of Monroe.
Lamore,
Present City of Monroe.
Mayor Clark.
Present in the city of Monroe.
And Clerk Lavoy, I'm president in the city of Monroe.
Very good. Clerk, next item.
The next item is the invocation and the pledge. As we come together this evening, allow us to grow closer as a group and nurture the bonds of community. Remind us that all we do here this evening is for the welfare of and in service to the residents of the city of Monroe.
Thank you. At this time, if you please join in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
To the flag.
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
Under God.
indivisible, with liberty and
justice for all.
Thank you. Clerk, next, well, you call the item, then I have some comments to make.
The next item on the agenda are amendments to the agenda.
Thank you. So we had our work session and just shortly before and in conversation, not only at this meeting, but the meetings previously regarding the mayor's state of emergency that currently operating under and have operated since March 15th of 2020. So much has transpired since this past year plus, but more so looking how we're and where we're at in the last month, 2 months, and seeing some of the transition that's allowing the opening of many items within our community across the state, announcements by the state here recently, and the termination of or opening, I should say, of activities from a state perspective. We're also looking at it from a national perspective. So as the mayor and with support of the council, the state of emergency, as I stated, was brought to start March of last year. At this time, I am making a statement of termination of the declaration of state of emergency for the city of Monroe. I do that feeling very confident and comfortable that we are in a position in not only our state, but here in the city of Monroe. Yes, we in our work session, we talked about levels of vaccination with statewide and local, but I also look at the reports coming from our Department of County Department of Community Health, as well as through our medical field in the hospital. And so I'm terminating the declaration of state of emergency. And one of the items and why we're stating this now is because on our agenda, we have the opportunity to place the council's action that we've taken over the past year. Many resolutions have been passed. and amended, and things have adjusted, but it still requires the council action to I'll say address those items. And so I'm asking that there be an amendment to the agenda to include what was presented regarding the declaration of termination of state of emergency and the resolutions that council needs to take action on. So we're at the Council Michaelangi?
Yeah, Your Honor, I'll make a motion that we amend the budget to include the resolution as the last item under council action.
The agenda, is that correct?
Correct.
Support.
There's a motion by Council Michaelangi, supported by Councilwoman Whitman, to amend the agenda to add under the council action the resolution. Give me a second here. Look at Mr. Buzz. I'm looking for termination of the declaration of resolution terminating the COVID-19 resolutions that council previously passed. Mr. Buds, that suffice?
Your Honor, I think that would be appropriate when we get to the agenda item. If I can do a screen share again to go over the substance of that, but I think that would be appropriate for agenda purposes.
I agree. Thanks. And we'll look forward to your review of that as well. So there's a motion and a second to amend the agenda. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Felder,
Yes.
Whitman,
Yes.
Michaelangi,
Yes.
Vining,
Yes.
Jermaine,
Yes.
Elmore,
Yes.
Mayor Clark.
Yes. So other items from council or administration regarding the amendment to the agenda? Vince?
Nothing else, Your Honor.
Okay, I see none from council. Clerk, next item, please.
The next item are any citizen comments not related to an agenda item.
Thank you. At this time on our council agenda is comments from those present this evening that wish me to speak, mindful of the I'll say rules of the chamber that we have regarding speaking of 3 minutes. Ask that you would state your name and jurisdiction of residency where you reside. Clerk, I don't go.
I don't see any hands raised, Your Honor.
I see no hands raised as well. Oh, no,
There is
there's
one.
one hand. Cole, you are brought forward. Please, your name, jurisdiction of residence, and please start.
Sure. Name is Cole. I live in the city of Monroe. I just wanted to talk briefly, since this is the last city council meeting during Pride Month, and kind of touch on a thing that was brought up last meeting, which was the Pride flag. I just wanted to touch on why folks were asking the city to raise the Pride flag at the last meeting, and explain a little bit why Pride flags can be really important. In our societies, straight and cisgender people are generally taken as a standard or the norm. Cisgender people, for those who aren't familiar, are people who were assigned a sex at birth, and then that still matches their gender in adulthood. For example, a child who's deemed male at birth would still identify as male. That's cisgender. But with cisgender and straight people being the stereotypical standard, unless you're somehow visibly transgender or displaying some presumed gay behavior or clothing, you become invisible. And invisible people, while we're afforded a privilege of safety and in anonymity, we lose a sense of community and advocacy. And invisible people can struggle to be heard or, of course, seen. Their presence can be ignored, while others who stand out can be stigmatized or brushed off as a minority, is a much smaller minority than they are. So by displaying your gender or your pronouns or your sexuality open with a flag, for example, you can connect to others like you. You can find community. You can show yourself to be a safe person to the LGBTQ+ community or people. And you can show that the wider cisgender straight population that we exist. We deserve love or respect just like everyone else. We're here, we're queer, we're not going to disappear, that sort of thing. So when cities display pride flags, it sends a strong message to the community that folks like me are welcome here. I saw that Milan and Trenton have raised the pride flag in solidarity this year, and the Lazy Boy here in Monroe is also flying one. Making these efforts doesn't seek to raise the LGBTQ plus community above others, but it shows that discriminatory laws that are being pushed across all the states in their country are not welcome. It says that the leaders of our city won't allow for the discrimination of many of its residents. I don't work to harm others in my community, so I would wish that no one in my community wants to harm me either. And it would be lovely to know that the city and its leaders have mine and others' backs. So I want to say, finally, happy Pride Month. I'm proud not to be afraid of who I am. And finally, I just want to remind everybody, obviously Friday, we have the Custer Falls Again rally in St. Mary's Park, which thank you for the permits and all those things. It starts at 4:30. Hoping the weather is good. Please come on down. There should be, music and people. So if you would like to get to know some real people and have a decent discussion about these topics or just enjoy Native American culture, we would highly invite you to come and come on down and enjoy. Thank you.
Your Honor, I have another.
Sorry, I apologize. It was on mute. Thank you, Cole.
Richard Micka, citizen of Monroe. I have a concern about spontaneous demonstrations occurring on public property in the city of Monroe when such demonstrations threaten other people. A permit should be required for any demonstration with more than 6 people occurring on public property. Stay off the curbs, stay off the sidewalks. No posters or signs on any buildings, poles, or other objects belonging to the city of Monroe. Place a maximum number of people demonstrating in any given location for safety reasons. Do not impede the flow of traffic or pedestrians. Do not obstruct the vision of vehicular traffic with signs or posters. Use of foul language, either spoken or written, will not be or should not be tolerated. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Micka.
That's all I see, Your Honor.
Okay, next item, please.
The next item is under public hearing, item 3187, public hearing proposed or on public, sorry, let me start again. Public hearing on proposed ordinance 21-005. And there are no comments on file in the clerk treasurer's office.
Thank you. Mr. Bastu, introduction on this item or moving forward?
I've just moved forward. It is amendment covering system development fees as well as clarification, responsibility, cost associated with department standards and Eagle regarding lead and copper rule revisions.
Which we have discussed at a previous meeting here recently. So at this time, I'll open the public hearing. Any comments related to item 3187? Public hearing regarding proposed ordinance 21-005. See no hands raised. This time, close the public hearing. Clerk, next item, please.
The next item is under council action, item 3151. Proposed ordinance 21-005, an ordinance to amend sections in chapter 699 up for its final reading.
Your Honor, I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance 21-005. An ordinance to amend sections 699-07, 699-23, 699-27, 699-32, and of chapter 699 water of the city of Monroe Code.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Michelangelo, supported by Councilman Felder, that item 3151, proposed ordinance 21-005, ordinance to amend sections in chapter 699 as listed on the agenda and stated. No further comment. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Felder,
Yes.
Whitman, Whitman,
Yes.
Angeli, Vining,
Yes.
Yermani,
Yes.
Lamore,
Yes.
Mayor Clark.
Yes.
Ordinance 21-005, an ordinance to amend section 699-07, 699-23, 699-27, 699-32, and 699-36 of chapter 699, Water of the Monroe Code, the city of Monroe ordains.
Shall this ordinance pass?
Councilperson Felder,
Yes.
Whitman,
Yes.
Echoangeli,
Yes.
Vining,
Yes.
Jermaine,
Yes.
Lamore,
Yes.
Mayor Clark.
Yes.
All right, the next item is item 3185, amendment to the Downtown Development Authority ordinance up for its first reading.
Thank you. Mr. Pastor, I'm not sure if you have item.
Yes.
Okay, please do.
Yeah, if I could just give a brief introduction, Your Honor. We're asking City Council to be placed on the floor for its first reading, ordinance 21-006, and schedule a public hearing and second reading for Tuesday, July 6th. The ordinance itself is, if you will, more of a housekeeping order related to the Downtown Development Authority ordinance. It does clean up the language, the legislative enabling a language now authorized by Public Act 57 of 2018. The original enabling legislation at the state was adopted in 1975. It changes the designation of board members from trustees to directors, which is how they've been referred to for quite some time. And then lastly, it clarifies the number of directors to reflect the statutory authorization. So the current ordinance is silent on that. So given the recent adoption of the Downtown Development Authority Development Tax Increment Plan, we thought the timing for this update was appropriate as well.
Your Honor, I'll make a motion that we move to put ordinance 21-006, an ordinance to amend section 22-4 through 22-10 of Article 3, Downtown Development Authority of Chapter 22, Boards, Commissions, and Authorities, on the floor for its first reading and schedule the public hearing for July the 6th, 2021.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Michael, supported by Councilman Felder on item 3185, amendment to the Downtown Development Authority ordinance as stated and presented. The first reading and schedule the second reading. Sorry. Clerk, please call the roll.
Felder,
Yes.
Whitman,
Yes.
Echoangeli,
Yes.
Vining,
Yes.
Jermaine,
Yes.
Lamore,
Yes.
Mayor Clark.
Yes.
Ordinance 21-006, Chapter 22, Boards, Commissions, Authorities, and Committees, Article 3, Downtown Development Authority, an ordinance to amend sections 22-4 through 22-10 of Article 3, Downtown Development Authority of Chapter 22, Boards, Commissions, Authorities, and Committees of the Code of the City of Monroe.
Thank you. Next item.
The next item is item 3178, resolution urging for federal funding increase for the River Raisin National Battlefield Park.
Thank you. Mr. Pastu or maybe Mr. Cochran?
I'll let Mr. Cochran provide the introduction on this item, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, City Council, Mark Cochran, Assistant to the City Manager and Economic Development Director. Every year when the new federal budget comes out, we always pay attention to several different items, including the funding for our local national park, which is of course the River Raisin. This year, with the Biden administration's proposed budget, we took a look at what were the budget priorities for the administration and for the Park Service this year, and noticed that our national park in Monroe hit three of the highest priorities that received the highest funding in the Park Service. However, the River Raisin didn't receive any allocations for those areas. They were laid out in the City Council fact sheet, but tonight's resolution is in hopes of pressing our federal legislators when the budget comes up for consideration before Congress, that they would take a look at the line item appropriated for River Raisin and increase the budget in line with other national parks throughout the country. Particularly of the 123 national park units in the 15 largest metropolitan statistical area, the battlefield in Monroe is the only one that tells the story of the Native American nation's struggle to stop westward expansion. And the River Raisin National Battlefield Park received the second lowest fiscal year 2022 proposed funding per visitor of every other national park, national battlefield, national military park, and is significantly below other similar national park units, receiving about $2.89 per visitor compared to just over $17 per visitor that other national parks receive. So obviously the city has made significant contributions toward the development of the national park, and we're hoping that the Congress and the National Park Service would also step up and increase its support, as the park was one of, I think, 5 across the country that received record-breaking visitor increases last year in 2020, despite a global pandemic. So we're presenting a resolution that we would hope to provide to our federal legislators, as well as the Secretary of the National Park Service, to encourage them to increase the base funding for the National Park of Monroe.
Thank you, Mark, for that review. I'll just see if there's any comments or questions from council. If not, the motion would be in order. Council Michelangeli.
Your Honor, I'd like to the Secretary of the Interior, Deb Haaland. She's the first Native American Secretary of the Interior. So especially with the purpose that the River Raisin National Battlefield is trying to do in terms of educating the importance of Native American history in this region, I think that would be an important letter to write to her relative for her considerations, since she would be part of that budget process. But I would certainly make a motion that we approve the resolution urging federal funding for the River Raisin National Battlefield Park.
Second.
Okay, there's a couple there, but I'll say there's motion by Councilman Michelangeli, supported by Councilman Felder on item 3178, the resolution urging federal funding increase for the River Raisin National Battlefield Park. Well, this is under council action, so I see there's a hand raised, but I'm looking to Mr. Buds. There'd be comments later or now?
Your Honor, I mean, if it's a comment related to this agenda item, I think it would be appropriate to take that comment. Otherwise, if it's not related to this agenda item, I think it would be appropriate to leave that for the end.
Oh, yep, I see it's back. I was looking for it on my other attendee screen. Clerk, if you could move forward. There's Cole.
Hi, everybody. It's Cole again, City of Monroe. I heard a lot of talk about the history, then the battlefield for the Native American people. I don't know if this is related, but I know you're seeking federal funding. Are there federally recognized tribes who are assisting in the telling of their story at the battlefield? Or I don't know the situation there, but I didn't know if that's included in funding, if they could have federally recognized tribes assisting with. Anyway, thank you.
Thanks, Cole. Your Honor.
Council Michelangeli and Mr. Cochran may have a follow-up. I know that.
Yeah,
go ahead, Councilman.
I just would add, I'm thinking about people to send a resolution. I wonder if it wouldn't hurt that we reach out to the United Tribes of Michigan in Harbor Springs, which is the organization that represents all the Michigan Native American tribes, and ask them for their support as well, because this money is being directed to the River Raisin National Battlefield. And I know that Scott Bentley is making significant efforts at reaching out to all of the former Native American tribes that used to inhabit this area to bring them back to Monroe and have their story told. So I think this is a great opportunity for a partnership.
Mr. Cochran, and maybe I'll have a thought. Go ahead.
One significant item to note is that the River Raisin is one of the very few, I think it's less than a dozen, that has a federal, an actual compact with the Wyandotte of Androdon Nation, which is of course a sovereign government. And so there's a close bond and a close partnership. And I know Chief Billy Friend, who is the chief of the Wyandotte of Androdon, has had a relationship and has made outreach to the National Park Service. And obviously funding for the River Raisin National Battlefield Park is very important to their tribe as well. And so that's just one of the many relationships that we have with federally recognized tribes at the battlefield. And I know he's got a very keen interest in the funding that the national park receives.
If I understand, Mark, Chief Billy Friend, because we've been through the journey toward understanding and made visits both to Oklahoma as well as the Wyandotte tribe has made visits here to this region and returned to their original lands as well. And there's a relationship between the Wyandotte tribe and the local Wyandotte Androdon, correct?
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, so I think we're getting some direction here. Obviously, it's up for action by the council regarding this resolution, but options that the council's looking for, that some other inclusion of others to send the same, I'll say resolution to, for their support as well. I see there's one other hand up, Clerk Lavoy.
There is.
I'm trying to move my screen here. Julie, your name, please, and jurisdiction, and then if you would, please.
Julie Dye, Dowagiac, Michigan, Pokagon Band, Potawatomi. I just want to make a correction that the Wyandotte of Androdon are not a federally recognized tribe. They're not a state recognized tribe. They are a limited liability corporation. That's all.
All right, thank you. I think that is Mr. Cochran, I know that when this started with our discussion at the battlefield, I'm sure the River Raisin National Battlefield Park, and the outreach to the Wyandotte tribe through the relationship from Chief Billy Friend and their relationship with the Wyandotte Androdon. So it is correct that the Wyandotte tribe is a nationally recognized tribe, and Chief Friend has, I'll say, established relationship to have a conversation and I'll say providing direct assistance for their involvement here through the Wyandotte Androdon. Clerk, I don't see any other comments.
The hand was lowered, but now it's back up again. So I don't know if there is an additional comment or.
Well.
Oh, it's gone. Okay, so we must be all set.
Yep. Okay. So there is a motion and a second regarding resolution 3178. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Baldo,
Yes.
Whitman,
Yes.
Equangeli,
Yes.
Vining,
Yes.
Jermaine,
Yes.
Lamore,
Yes.
Mayor Clark.
Yes.
The next item is item 3186, resolution to update city council regular meeting agenda format.
Thank you. Mr. Pastu, any additional information or review from our previous conversations?
Well, I think I just walking quickly through it. Again, part of this is driven by the fact that the council will be back in session in the council chambers, and that we certainly have discussed in the past manners in which we can work toward the format to improve our efficiency and effectiveness, comply with the Open Meetings Act, and maintain a high level of public participation above and beyond what's required in the Open Meetings Act. The last item where you accepted 2 comments from the public is an example of that. So as a result, we're to do some restructuring of the format. One of the things we're looking at doing is moving the approval of the agenda so that, and also the consent agenda up to the front of the meeting. The approval of the agenda would be used to add an item, delete an item from the agenda. You know, the addition, there's times where we've had closed sessions prior to the regular meeting that council would like to have items added to the agenda. And then rather than deal these closed sessions on the back end after the public has left the chambers, as well in impact no longer televising, we just thought it would be better to try and handle it that way. So you can add items to the agenda, delete an item from the agenda. Council member, this would be the time period where you would ask for an item to be removed from the consent agenda to council action segment of the agenda. The mayor would also ask anyone in the audience desire an item to be moved from consent agenda to city council action. Again, allowing for greater participation with the public. And then if the council wishes to make a motion to add an item to the agenda as well for discussion and or action, it would take place. Again, this moves it to, the consent agenda towards the front of the agenda, which would just allow for a single motion to approve the consent agenda resolutions and carry out the actions requested therefrom. It would also allow for the clerk to have a clean record of items that fall under the consent agenda as well as council action. We would next have just the presentations, communications, and public hearings. This would include any public presentations that we may have that are not part of a work session, proclamations, public hearings, and then communications, reports that may come to the city council that do not require any formal action. Communications, correspondence received by the city clerk in which the individual requests that it be submitted into the official record. Said correspondence shall be submitted to the clerk by the close of business on the preceding Tuesday in order to be presented in the council agenda. This would actually contain the letter itself in there. And then any announcements, the mayor would use this as an opportunity, ask anyone in the audience if they'd like to make an announcement regarding a community event, and that it would be limited to 1 minute. Again, part of our discussions in the past. And that this would, if adopted, would take place the first regular meeting in July 2021 and remain in effect until revised by council.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from council?
Your Honor, I just want to make a motion.
Please do, Councilman Moore.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to adopt the resolution updating and amending the city council regular meeting agenda format.
Second.
Okay, there's, I could see the Councilwoman Germaini always has a delay in her voice. I saw it coming just before, so I'll say a motion by Councilman Moore, supported by Councilwoman Germaini on item 3186, resolution to update the city council regular meeting agenda format. Clerk, please call the roll.
Felder,
Yes.
Whitman,
Yes.
Michaelangeli,
Yes.
Vining,
Yes.
Jermaine,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Mayor Clark.
Yes.
The
Next
next item is item 3180, Professional Services Award 2022 to 2024 Project Topographic Surveys.
Thank you. I know there's some information needs to be inserted here, so I think we'll, Mr. Pastu, and then regarding that, and then we'll council action.
If the clerk could make me a co-host, I'll share the screen with an item that we have related to this to walk council through it.
I believe you are a co-host already.
What's that?
You are a co-host already.
Oh, really? Okay,
Yeah.
Thank you.
I started you way early, ready to go.
It would help if I paid attention.
Working.
Let's see what we got here. If I can pull that up. No. All right.
There you go.
So this is just from City Engineer Patrick Lewis. We had requested bids for topographical surveys for projects that we're contemplating for 2022. We had sent those to 4 engineering firms. We received 2 today. We thought we'd probably get them from 4. The low came from Manick and Smith in the amount of $42,438. As you look at it there, that you can see the breakdown. Most of it's going to be in the local street fund, but also spread some to the major street fund and local street fund. The detail associated with it is, you can see, pretty detailed that we had asked to contained in the capital improvements program projects that we identified for 2002, 2003, and 2004. Keep in mind that from the capital improvements project, when it was presented before the council, we had not last fall that we had not we just had adopted, the community had adopted the referendum for the street millage, and so we want to put in order the work that for the survey work, so that the engineering department can engage in the design this fall, with the intent of being able to bid projects in January for the upcoming construction season. So with that, the motion that we're proposing is to let me read it here. Move that the professional services contract be awarded to Manick and Smith Group in the amount of $42,438 for topographic survey services, that the Director of Engineering and Public Services be authorized to execute the professional services agreement on behalf of the city, and that the Finance Director be authorized to make the necessary budget transfers.
Thank you, Mr. Pastu. I'll see if there's any comments. Councilman Michelangelo?
What was the proposal from Hennessy Engineers?
I believe it was like 66,000, somewhere in the 60s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Your Honor, I'll make a motion that we move to enter into a professional service agreement with Manick and Smith in the amount of $42,438 for topographic surveys, and with the $4,200, including a small contingency for additional work encumbered, and authorize the Director of Engineering and Public Services to go ahead and execute the necessary agreements.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Michelangelo, supported by Councilman Felder, on item 3180, professional service award for 2022-24 project topographical surveys as presented and stated. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Felder,
Yes.
Whitman. Whitman,
Yes.
Echoangeli,
Yes.
Vining,
Yes.
Romaney,
Yes.
Lamar,
Yes.
Mayor Clark.
Yes.
The next item on the agenda is item 3135, appointments to city boards and commissions.
I've presented some appointments for some of the vacancies that occur, working on some additional ones, and these are for council's consideration for approval.
Your Honor, I'll make a motion that we approve the resolution regarding appointments to city boards and commissions.
Support.
Motion by Councilman Michelangelo, supported by Councilwoman Whitman, on item 3135, appointments to city boards and commissions. Clerk, please call the roll.
Felder,
Sorry.
Councilperson Felder,
Yes.
Whitman,
Yes.
Echoangeli,
Yes.
Vining,
Yes.
Romaney,
Yes.
Lamar,
Yes.
Mayor Clark.
Yes. Clerk, next item is,
So the next item is, we'll have a number assigned by the clerk's office after the meeting, but it's resolutions related to the termination of the declaration of state of emergency.
very good. Mr. Buds, I think you wanted to give some additional information from the introduction of this, if you would, please.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm going to share screen here for just a moment. That should be coming up here in just a moment. As we discussed, we anticipate the, let me get where I need to be, I apologize, that the mayor anticipates the termination of the declaration of state emergency relating to COVID-19, and anticipates that that will be done and made effective this coming Friday, the 25th at 5 p.m. Based on that, as I indicated at the work session, there are a number of steps that were taken in response to that emergency, including COVID resolutions 1 through 8 and COVID reopening resolutions 1 through 3 that the City Council had previously approved during the period of time from March 15th, 2020 through to the present. As we discussed during the work session, the state has announced the rescission of most of the restrictions that have been imposed by the state, that going into effect at midnight, coming tomorrow, Tuesday, the 22nd. And listed out for you the data that the state had given to indicate that that was an appropriate step for the state to take at this point. Based on all of those items, we recommended that City Council then approve a resolution, which you should see on the screen before you, basically indicating that effective as of the date and time of the termination of the state of emergency, that COVID resolutions 1 through 8 and reopening resolutions 1 through 3 would be rescinded and of no further force and effect, and that the City Council would continue to encourage the monitoring of the COVID-19 pandemic and recommends the continued adherence to federal, state, and local guidance concerning the response to COVID-19. Of course, as we mentioned at the work session, there's nothing that would preclude if all of a sudden there was some I'll say turn for the worse that none of us hopes is coming, that further action could be taken at that time, but not speaking too much for the mayor, it seems appropriate based on the numbers and his impending decision to terminate the state of emergency, that it would be appropriate to proceed forward with this resolution to basically return city business to a state of normalcy at this point. And I'm happy to answer any questions or concerns.
Thanks, Matt. I'll see if there's any questions from council. If not, this item is up for council's action.
Your Honor, I'll make a motion that we approve the resolution regarding the termination of COVID-19 restrictions.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Nicolai, supported by Councilman Lamore. Item number to be included regarding the termination of the COVID restrictions here in the city of Monroe. Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes.
Whitman,
Yes.
Nicolangeli,
Yes.
Vining,
Yes.
Maney,
Yes.
Lamore,
Yes.
Mayor Clark.
Yes. Next item, please.
The next item is the consent agenda, and for approval of payments to vendors, the amount should read $1,627,775.00. 1,627,775.00.
Good. Are there any items on the consent agenda that council wishes to have pulled for further discussion? Any items on the consent agenda?
Your Honor, item 3173.
Other items from council wish to have pulled for further discussion? Any items on the consent agenda that those present here this evening wish to have pulled for further discussion?
I see no hands, Your Honor.
I see no hands. Very well. With that, a motion be in order.
Your Honor, I make a motion that all items of the consent agenda be approved and carried out, and that the clerk register all of the facts that are listed under the agenda.
With the exception of item 3170.
With the exception of item 3173.
Correct.
Support.
Motion by Councilman Lamore, supported by Councilwoman Whitman, that all items on the consent agenda not pulled for further discussion be accepted, placed on file, recommendations carried out, and resolutions adopted. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Fowler,
Yes.
Whitman,
Yes.
Nicolangeli,
Yes.
Vining,
Yes.
Maney,
Yes.
Lamore,
Yes.
Mayor Clark.
Yes.
The next item is item 3173, Public Safety Special Purpose Patrol Unit.
Councilman Nicolangeli.
Yes, a couple of things, Your Honor. First, I think the chief is on. I just thought maybe it'd be an opportunity for the chief to explain to the community why we're purchasing a tactical electric golf cart and what it's going to be used for.
Thank you. Chief McCormick. Looking to see. There he is. Yep. Thank you. Chief.
Thank you, Your Honor. Honorable Mayor and Council, Charles McCormick, Chief of Police. So through the partnership with the Homeland Security and the Stone Garden Grant, every year we balance out what type of equipment versus funding for extra patrols that we receive from the grant. And it was a need, a lot of it for special events, where I think we're all hopeful. There's a lot of discussion earlier with the lifting of some of the COVID restrictions that some of our special events return. Certainly, I don't know if we'll ever get back to a jazz festival type event at some point, but a cart like this, obviously the golf carts are getting very popular in both the public safety sector and the private sector. So I think it's also a good opportunity for some community outreach with this type of a vehicle. It is a golf cart. I mean, it has a fancy name. It's going to have obviously a lot of accessories, lights, sirens, radio, and public safety type equipment on it, but certainly could be used for, it's electric, for patrolling the heritage trails. And again, we're especially looking forward to it for some of our special events in the parks and downtown.
Your Honor, I may ask the chief, I saw one go through town. Have we already acquired or are we test driving?
Nope, I've not seen one. It must be someone else's. We have a Polaris, which is a gas operated vehicle. We I think received that through a grant 2011, 10 years ago.
Okay, maybe
So
that's.
it could have been the Polaris.
Okay. Now, one of the ones that I've seen in some other communities, I saw that you gave us pictures. Some of the other communities have them, but they are also, the bed on them is long enough that they could actually accommodate a stretcher in case there's an injury, and where they need a unit that's smaller than an ambulance or a fire truck.
And
is that
this
part
has
of
those
the-
this does Councilman have those applications as well, because that rear seat flips down and there's a trailer hitch attachment that could give you the versatility to do such if you had a challenging area or something to get a vehicle in to do an extrication. It could be used for that.
Okay. The other part of the question is, and it's really not related to the purchase, but it was in the attached letter. I didn't realize, maybe it was on the council agenda and I just missed it. I didn't realize that we also have acquired 2 personal watercraft. And I know that we tend to embellish the narratives in order to get grant applications, but in the letter, it says,
Zero. Oops.
yeah, it says in the letter that we're using the personal watercraft to patrol the US-Canadian border, which is like 12 or 15 miles from Monroe, from the port. And then it says we're also using it to patrol Western Lake Erie, which is relatively 2,500 square miles of water. So do we have local officers that are actually doing that, or is that just part of the grant narrative?
So if I may, Your Honor.
Yes.
During I guess I'll call it the haze of COVID. Last year it was an exciting project. It still is to begin a Marine division in the city of Monroe. We are obviously a community surrounded by waterways, but those vehicles were purchased also through the Stone Garden Grant, and we're working in partnership. I say the project is early on because it's just training in that at this point, but we're working with the sheriff's office and their assets and to look to add those vessels in addition to the patrols on the lake area. Certainly, I wouldn't see a jet ski heading out to the Canadian waters, but the Homeland Security does count on communities such as Monroe. We are what they consider a soft target. They have concerns of fishing vessels that leave Canadian area with so many passengers and return with fewer. So there's always anytime you're a coastal community, there is a concern, for human trafficking and smuggling and the like. So those will be something we're hoping to see this summer. We will concentrate in the river area, again, doing some community outreach with them, and then also working with the sheriff's office.
Okay, thank you. Your Honor, I'll move to approve the purchase of the 1 Prowl Edition Police Tactical Electrical Golf Cart in the amount of $20,521 with a local match of $4,526, and authorize the finance director to amend the budget for the grant proceeds of $15,995.
Second.
There's a motion by Councilman Kalani, supported by Councilman Felder, on item number 3173, Public Safety Special Purpose Patrol Unit.
Or
Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Felder,
Yes.
Whitman,
yes,
Equangeli,
Yes.
Vining,
Yes.
Jermaine,
yes,
Lamore,
Yes.
Mayor Clark.
Yes.
All right, I have no further items, Your Honor.
Okay, it's time for council comments. It is June. Councilman Felder.
Thank you, Your Honor. No comments this evening.
Very good. Councilwoman Whitman.
I have no comments, Your Honor, other than that was a fine storm last night, and I'm glad that there was no more damage than what there was to Monroe. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Kleinschle.
Yeah, Your Honor, I got a couple issues. One is, I guess to get to Cole Bean's comment, do we have any objections to flying a pride flag in the community? I certainly don't have any objections to that. I don't know if the other members of council do, but I certainly don't. I think we want to be inclusive, and we want to basically make sure that everybody in the community is welcome. So I think that's something that we should consider. The other comment that I have is I noticed that Jim's Towing now has expanded across the street of Eastchester onto property that's adjacent to the Salvation Army. I was a little bit disturbed when I saw that he has junked vehicles, a bus that's overturned, cars that have been in pretty much severe crashes, and they're just laying on a lot and there's absolutely no screening. And I'm thinking to myself, the Oaks of Righteousness, Heather Boone and her group have made some significant investments in the orchard. The city has spent over $6 million on a fire station. We've put over 1.2 million just in Labor Park, plus buying other property to demolish dilapidated structures. And then now we have a junk car lot that's been expanded in the city that doesn't have any proper screening. And the question I have is, do we even allow it under our zoning code? I mean, that was disturbing. We're making investments in the community, and then we have a business owner that is just storing junk vehicles out in the middle of a lot next to the by the Salvation Army, which also made a significant investment in that neighborhood. So I'd like that addressed by the city administration. Why that happened, why it's not being appropriately screened, was it zoned properly? Did it go through an appropriate site plan review by the Planning Commission?
Thank you, Councilman. I know that Mr. Pestu, Mr. Cochran will jot that note, and I'm sure we'll get a report back regarding that. I'll add the discussion of past was also in relation to the dead end of Franklin Street, which needs to be, I guess, included within the conversation.
The other issue I have is, we've talked about it before at the last meeting, is, I still made my weekly trip down to the Labor Park and still see that many of the landscaping items that were on the punch list have not been resolved yet. I know that the city administration is trying to work on it, but I had asked at the last meeting for a detailed report at a workshop meeting relative to what the status of the project is. And I think, I'm still going to ask for it again. Maybe at the next workshop, I'd like to hear from the city administration and the director of engineering on what the outstanding items are at that park and when we're going to get it resolved and get it buttoned up and turned over at that point in time to the Parks and Recreation Commission. So I'm still looking for a presentation to council on that issue. Another comment I have, which is something that I have talked about before with the administration under council comments, is the lack of narrative that a person gets under the My Monroe app. I submitted about 3 weeks ago 4 or 5 different complaints on dead trees. I did receive a notification back saying, thank you very much. Your comments and your inquiry have been resolved and closed. That's the narrative. So I went back out and I looked yesterday, and the trees that I had identified, none of them have been taken down, even though they're all dead. So there is not sufficient narrative back to the resident regarding what the status of the project is. Instead of, we just get a blanket statement saying, thank you very much, but your file has been reviewed and closed, is not sufficient. So if as a council person, if that's the inquiry or the comment that I get, I can only imagine what a resident gets. And I think we need to be a little bit more, we need to have more narrative in terms of exactly what action was taken when somebody files a service request. The other issue that I want to talk about that's came up under the conversation on the topographic surveys. In 2023, we have well over 10 street projects being built. I want to have a discussion at council workshop relative to how we're going to inspect these projects and how we're going to manage them with the number of construction projects that are going to be going on relative to the road millage and any other infrastructure projects. Because I think that's one area that we need to really focus on is the amount of inspection services that we're going to engage in the field to make sure that we're getting our projects done in a timely basis and we're getting the quality that we should be paying for. The other question I have is there was some conversation or talk about having a special meeting on June 28th. I'm just wondering, are we going to have that meeting or is that still in the planning stages?
We're not going to be able to make that meeting date.
Okay. Needed to know for my own scheduling. And then I'm going to check. I just want to make sure here. I see that Ms. Dye is still in the attendees list. I would ask Julie if you'd be so kind to go on the City of Monroe's website, look at my email or my cell phone number. Would you please contact me because I need to be educated on a couple of items that relate to Native American history. So I would appreciate you reaching out and I'd like to have a conversation with you. So that's all I have, Your Honor. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Councilwoman Vining.
No comments this evening, Your Honor.
Thank you. Councilwoman Germaini.
Thank you, Your Honor. I want to recognize Dick and Marge and Rob Sabe for their recognition. I'm being honored for the investment they put in for the battlefield. They were honored at a dinner last week, and it's a large feat. They're committed to our community and to the battlefield, so I thank them for that. That's all, Your Honor.
Thank you. Councilwoman Lamore.
Thank you, Your Honor. I just want to make notice of United Way and their upcoming campaign. For those of you who have pledged to support, this is what you'll be receiving soon. It's probably in reverse. I apologize, but that is the shirt on the back side. Give a hand up. Live United. The front side is people giving a hand on the shirt here, going up the stairway. Give them support. Give them all the support you can. They're a great organization in Monroe and Lenawee counties, and I hope they do well in their campaign this upcoming year. Regarding the flag placement in the city of Monroe, I would suggest that it become either council action or some kind of an agenda item if you wish to do so. But even then, with that being said, I would consider American flags and the state flag as the only flags that should fly, or military flags, I should say, should fly over the city of Monroe, because we're opening up a can of worms if we allow their flag to fly. What other flag do we have to fly besides that? And I've suggested this before to council, and it can lead to a lot of repercussions and a lot of bad and hurt feelings amongst residents. And I think that we need to consider other people besides just one group when we put up a flag concerning one group. That's all the comments I have, Your Honor.
Okay, I have a couple comments for this evening. I'll start by just reviewing some of the council action this evening. And of course, our next city council meeting is Tuesday, July 6th, and it will be held at the City Hall at the City Council Chambers as an in-person meeting. Just say watch for the times posted. generally our work sessions are at 6 p.m. and the city council meeting initiates at 7:30 p.m. So those will be obviously posted. And as we move forward with the termination of the state of emergency, there'll be a communications coming out from our director through this week. One of the reasons why I was asking for the date in which it was stated, just some final items internally and appropriate communication to the community and the public about our upcoming meetings. You know, we won't meet until after July 4th. Obviously, I wish that everybody ensure we have a safe, enjoyable but safe 4th of July. Be mindful of your neighbors and other residents. We know at times that it gets beyond the time frame or beyond the allowable use of fireworks. And I know that Chief McCormick's on. I won't ask him to speak to that, but I know that there is generally calls and response needed on that. So I'd ask everybody, please be mindful if you are participating in that. Be safe first and foremost, but also please be very mindful of your neighbors in the community as well. Last week was kind of follows up to Councilman Clancy's comment. You know that we'll look for that update on the labor park and punch list. But I will say that last Wednesday evening, the outdoor family fun night through the MCOP at the Opportunity Center at ALCC had activities as well as the activities in Labor Park. It was great to see the splash pad in operation and the students, also the youth of the community enjoying and look forward to how that can continue throughout this year and more opportunities for the community to meet and enjoy that. I'm going to follow up because I know that from Councilman Michaelangeli's and the request from Cole on the flag. You know, there's many requests that come in. So what I'm going to ask, and I know Councilman Feller and I had a conversation as well. We get requests for proclamations, resolutions, and use of city property for, I'll say, for the private use. I think it's a discussion council I'd like to have with council to talk about those a variety of the requests that come in, whether it's putting items on the poles in the downtown or flying flags. I think at the last meeting there was a discussion on this, but also I think the opportunity as council has said here tonight, as well as last week, of in support of all, and in support of making sure our community is acceptance and inclusion of all. So I think there's many ways in which we can be positive, include all members of our community for all purposes, as was stated again this evening, and everybody's lives and how they live. So, but I would like to have a conversation with council before we start, I'll say, using the public space for the requests that come in. I think that's my comments for this evening. Again, please have a safe 4th, and I look forward to seeing everybody in person on July 6th. Councilman Michelangelo?
Your Honor, I forgot under my comments, and I just want to say this. I believe this is on behalf of the city council. Michelle, we really do extend our condolences to the loss of your sister Annie.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. And great to have you with us here this evening and obviously in the future as well. Thank you. Special lady.
Yep.
Clerk Treasurer Lavoy.
I had a couple of comments, but after that last moment, I think I'm just gonna let it go tonight. It's not something that can't be picked up another day. So thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. City Manager, Mr. Pastu.
I don't have anything, Your Honor.
You know, you have a list, so we'll chat later. Yeah. Clerk, we'll go to see if there's any comments this evening from those present. I'll ask if there's any comments from the public this evening.
Any hands raised yet?
I see no hands. Oh, here comes a couple. Take them in the order as you see them.
All right. Okay.
In Monroe, Michigan. I just wanted to thank the city for granting the permit for the event on June 25th. That should be a really good opportunity to get educated on why members of the federally recognized tribes of Michigan would want the customer to be relocated. I think a lot of those members will be there. And so I think it's a great opportunity for city council members and the mayor and the rest of the community to just come and discuss and talk with them and see why. They'll probably tell you too that, just like you said, Mayor, it would probably increase the inclusivity of every one of our community if that statue was removed. I think that's the argument they would probably make there. But again, wanted to thank the city and hope to see some of you out there. Thank you.
Thank you, Graham. Clerk, next, my screen's back and forth. I see, move the next person forward.
Yes, I'm gonna have to remove somebody first. Okay. All right, here we go. Okay.
Richard Micka, a citizen of Monroe, resident of Monroe. Gentlemen and ladies, council people, please keep this in mind. June 25th of 2021 is the 145th anniversary of the Battle of the Little Bighorn. 5 men from Monroe perished at that engagement. 2 of them are interred at Woodland Cemetery in Monroe. Any protests that dishonor this historic event dishonor those from Monroe who perished on that hill in Montana so long ago, and whose remains are with us today, namely those of Boston Custer, brother of George, and Henry Armstrong, Audie Reed, a cousin of the general. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Clerk. Other hands? I see there's another.
I'll just go in order.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, Beth, name and jurisdiction of residence, please.
Katie Beth Davis, 15277 La Pleasance Road. This Friday, June 25th, is the 145th anniversary of Custer's fall. And we are going to be remembering all the women and little babies and children and all the people who were slaughtered that he was responsible for. So yeah, there may be some graves of people that were from Michigan, but I would like to remind everybody that these are Potawatomi lands. This land does not even belong to any of us. We are just occupying it and doing a disservice to the Native Americans, which we've had been for years upon years upon years. And with the pride flag flying, it is a rainbow. It is a symbol of hope. Each color represents something positive. That flag does not just represent the LGBTQ community. It represents them plus the allies and all of us. So not flying it and not having a flag for a certain group of people, I would like to also remind you, when you go through this town, you don't see a lot of things for other people besides white people, besides for colonizers. And again, I will say it again, like I have so many times, the only one thing that we do have for people of color that is dedicated for Martin Luther King Bridge, and I would invite any of you to go take a look at it. If you want to stop by on June 25th, I'll take you on a tour myself. Thank you for all of your hard work. I hope you guys have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you. Clerk, next in your list. Nathaniel, name, jurisdiction of residence, please.
Good evening, everyone. Nat Spur, a resident of the Pine Creek Indian Reservation in Athens Township, Michigan. First of all, I wanted to thank you, Mr. Mayor, and the City Council and the city for issuing the permit, for granting the permit for Friday's event. Certainly, I want to encourage everybody to attend that event. It's from 4:30 to 8 p.m. This Friday, the 25th. I want to encourage everybody to learn about our history. As Katie Beth just stated, this is Potawatomi territory. Both the County of Monroe and the City of Monroe are almost entirely Potawatomi territory when it comes to the other tribes, all the Native American tribes that once inhabited that area. The other thing I wanted to point out is I was present for the whole event last July, the other event that we held, and in response to Richard Micka's comments earlier, the only people who were disrespectful or did anything offensive at that event were the people, the motorists passing by yelling racial slurs at the Native Americans who were putting together a spiritual sacred ceremony, as well as the folks from Black Lives Matter who were very, very polite. And, you know, as I've said all along from top to bottom, I believe we've gone about this the correct way. So I wanted to thank the city again for granting the permit. This is Potawatomi territory. And to add on to what Julie Dye, Pokagon Tribal Elder Julie Dye stated earlier, all 12 federally recognized tribes in Michigan are united on this. And as I've talked about it twice, the definition and the reason why we're federally recognized is because all of our 12 tribes, including mine, the Nottawassippi Huron Band of the Potawatomi, have hundreds of years worth of signing treaties with the federal government. We've had a relationship, you know, an ongoing relationship throughout the years with the state government of Michigan, but we have a federal government to government relationship with the United States. So that's what defines, you know, the 12 federally recognized tribes, and that's why we have our status. There are also 4 state recognized tribes in Michigan, which have limited rights, you know, when it comes to consultation for land, repatriation, the Indian Child Welfare Act. But the Wyandot of Anderson and Ted Roll, I find it very distasteful that they're featured in the Monroe County Convention and Tourism Bureau's pamphlet that came out a week and a half or 2 weeks ago. They have no standing whatsoever. They're not a federally recognized tribe. They're not recognized by the states. They're not a sovereign nation. They're an LLC, as Julie pointed out. And the reason why we have our status is because all 12 federally recognized tribes, and we're all united on this Custer statue issue. We have a longstanding relationship. We've signed treaties for hundreds of years with the United States and the state of Michigan. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nathaniel. Clerk Treasurer. Next comment, please.
Hello, I'm Cody Crutchfield, resident of downtown Monroe. Let's see. I want to start on the subject of the pride flag. For one, I am in favor of it, and I believe that there are many unreasonable ideas about why there shouldn't be a pride flag. I think it does have to do with the conservative cultural ideas that many people in Monroe hold, and it needs to be understood that those ideas are not universal, and that many of the people who do not feel comfortable living within the confines of certain gender roles should not be disrespected. There are many people who are naturally prone to behavior patterns and personality traits that don't fit into society at large, and it needs to be understood that trying to force them into that is not good for their well-being, is not good for the well-being of others in general. On the subject of the protest this coming Friday, it is the anniversary of the Battle of the Little Bighorn, also known as the Battle of the Greasy Grass, to the Cheyenne and Sioux and other Native people who fought at that battle. I do not believe that it should be taken as a matter of disrespect in general to the people that died at that battle, but as a matter of trying to understand the issues related to that battle, and that it was an unjust war against people in that land who were forcefully relocated, and the negative consequences that that had for generations afterwards. We need to address the consequences that many historical events have had for people that have been ignored at large, and I believe that this protest is a pathway towards better understanding of history and how it has affected present generations and how we want to understand in a way that benefits future generations. I also wanted to say that there is also going to be a powwow held by the Turtle Island Dreamkeepers the weekend as well, 26th and 27th at the Battlefield Education Center on Dixie Highway. I know that we've had some ups and downs in trying to host this powwow, and I am concerned about some of the future of it, but I believe in the goals set up by the founders of our organization and that it's meant to be a healing of nations. That's the title of the event, Healing of Nations Powwow, with the goal of creating intertribal solidarity amongst different Native people, but also solidarity between people of different cultural backgrounds, different national backgrounds. It's meant to be a meeting place and a teaching opportunity for people to communicate with each other. And I still firmly believe in that goal, and I hope other people may come to the event in good faith and engage in communication and understanding. Thank you.
Thank you, Cody. Clerk Treasurer, I don't see any other hands. You're unmuted, so I'll say, I think you said no.
No, I don't either.
Okay, with that, motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Support.
Motion by Councilman Moore, supported by Councilman Michelangelo to adjourn. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Felder,
Yes.
Whitman,
Yes.
Michael Angeli, Vining,
Yes.
Jermaine,
Yes.
Bill Moore,
Yes.
Mayor Clark.
Yes, thank you all. Thank you for all the comments and council's actions, and please have a safe time and days until we see in person on Tuesday, July 6th. Yep, 4th of July. Please be safe.
Have a great 4th, everyone.
Bye.